explosion in Russia, many injured. If you want to be successful in any business, let the expert do it. The approach and seriousness of experts will be very different. Even the slightest carelessness, especially in sensitive issue, leads to major disaster. The most logical way to prevent disaster is to take precautions. In times of war, strategic points become more important, but they also become targets. Warring countries organize attacks on important and sensitive areas of their enemies. Through these attacks, they reduce the enemy's effectiveness. As the strategic points are destroyed, the enemy's ability to fight is reduced. Even more important than starting a war is sustaining it. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine has destroyed many strategic Russian positions. From the beginning of the war to the present day, the Ukrainian armed forces have carried out successful offensives. Day by day, the offensive powered by the Ukrainian armed forces has increased significantly. Thanks to this increase in offensive power, troops in the key Russian positions have been put on high alert. In addition, there has been a lack of discipline in the Russian troops, independent of Ukrainian offensives. The Russian authorities and military units, which had been in a poor state of moral motivation since the beginning of the war, have become less serious. As a result, they have had to deal with a new disaster every day. The explosion that took place the other day can be characterized as an indicator of this lack of seriousness. The city of Sergiev Posad, near Moscow, was shaken by a huge explosion in the early hours of the morning. Now, if you're ready, let's examine the details of the explosion together. In the early hours of the morning, there was a huge explosion in the city of Sergiev Posad in the Moscow region of Russia. After the explosion, many photos and videos were shared on social media. The fact that the area where the explosion occurred was a military facility attracted attention. A video shared on social media showed a huge mushroom cloud rising into the sky after the explosion. The explosion was felt and visualized not only in the area where it occurred, but also in the surrounding area. The explosion in Sergiev Posad, which is part of Moscow Oblast and about 46 miles from the capital Moscow, reportedly injured many people and caused material losses. According to information obtained from local sources, the explosions occurred at a facility engaged in military production on behalf of Russia. The explosion at the optical mechanics factory, known as Zagorsk, brought to mind the suspicion of sabotage. Zagorsk's optical mechanics factory is known as a factory that produces important tools for Russian army. The factory, which produces military equipment such as active infrared night vision devices, binoculars, and reconnaissance devices, stands out in the production of pyrotechnics and precision optics. In recent years, the factory is known to produce military products for civilians as well as military production. The explosion at the facility, which produces important equipment for Russia, caused great anxiety. In images shared on social media, it was seen that many locals left the city. A statement was made by the Russian authorities. Andrei Voroboyev, the governor of Moscow region, said in statements that the buildings near the facility were evacuated. The Russian Emergencies Ministry released a report confirming that the explosion was reported to authorities at 10:45 a.m. and that 18 people and 6 pieces of equipment were deployed to the scene. Moscow Governor Andrei Voroboyev urged residents to remain calm and not panic. Initial reports from the Moscow region prosecutor's office confirmed that the explosion affected the Zagorsk optical mechanical plant and destroyed its warehouse. However, Russian officials said that the plant had been converted into a fireworks storage facility, which raised eyebrows. Moscow Oblast Governor Voroboyev said that the plant had long been unrelated to the optical or mechanical production. He also stated that the explosion occurred in the area where pyrotechnic production was taking place. According to information obtained from local sources, at least 45 people were injured after the explosion. It was reported that 6 of the people injured in the explosion were in intensive care. The Russian Investigate Committee launched a criminal investigation into the explosions. After the explosion, damage occurred in many buildings in the vicinity. The smoke from the explosion at the Zagorsk plant covered an area of 500 square feet in the sky. The aftermath of the explosion could not be brought under control for a long time. After the explosion, many alarms sounded in surrounding area and people fled in great fear. An official from Russian Investigate Committee responded that sabotage allegations in a statement. In recent days, there have been many attacks by Ukrainian armed forces with drones. Because of these attacks, a direct suspicion of sabotage comes to mind. The Russian official said in statements that there is no evidence that the facility was hit by a drone. Stating that the explosion was very strong, the Russian official said that the operational service units is investigating. He said that he could not comment on the incident, but that information would be shared when the investigation was completed by experts. An unexplained fire occurred at the same facility on previous dates. In June 2022, local authorities said that the fire was caused by human factors. The fact that the explosions occurred every year due to the human factors in facility that produces strategic equipment for Russian army has caused criticisms. According to information obtained from local sources, there is no serious working system in Russia's facilities. For this reason, there are many problems caused by negligence. The statements of Russian officials are said to be separate subjects of criticisms. It is said that there is no military production at Zagreb's plant where the explosion took place, but these claims are not clear. It is thought that the Moscow administration is making such a claim to avoid responsibility. No statement was made by Ukrainian authorities regarding the explosion. It seems that Kiev administration will become stronger with the new support it will receive while continuing the war on the front. Ukrainian forces, which have been carrying out their attacks against Russia more strongly in recent days, draw determined images. Support from Ukrainian forces to continue their counterattack is also increasing day by day. In a recent report, it was announced that a large number of Leopard tanks will be given to Ukraine in a new agreement. According to experts, Leopard 1 tanks are known as the most suitable tank option for Ukraine's fight against the Russian army. Tank units of Ukrainian armed forces have been training for a long time. Ukrainian tankers seems to have adopted to Leopard 1 type tanks in the training completed before the counterattack launched by the Kiev administration. The tank to deliver to the Ukrainian army are expected to be delivered with improvements. Germany is providing serious support for the delivery of renewal of the tanks. It was stated that Germany made a serious payment for the renewal of Leopard tanks, which is part of the aid package announced last month. The Belgian government is also among the countries providing the tank support to Ukraine. According to data released by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Russia's tank losses in the war have reached high figures. Russia is known to have problems with tanks. For this reason, it was revealed that this was preparing even old Soviet tanks to be sent to the front. According to the data shared by Ukraine, more than 4,000 Russian tanks were destroyed by Ukrainian troops. It is thought that Russia has made such a move due to the high number of destroyed tanks. What do you think about the explosions in Russia? Do you think Ukraine could have a role in the explosion? What do you think about the Ukraine's attacks on Russian strategic points? Do you think that the reinforcements sent to Ukraine will strengthen the counterattacks? Do you think it is possible for the Russian army to replace the lost tanks? We care about your opinions. Please share them with us.